I want to go through some of these questions that I got from the private group that we have for Survivalist Prepper. And this is a group that I put together for members of the Bug Out Location, which you could become a member over at thebugoutlocation.net. Or you can become a member if you don't want to become a member of the Bug Out Location. For $2, you can become a member of this private group. And the reason I set it at $2 is to basically keep the trolls out, keep the riffraff out, the people that just want free stuff, and make it a group that's really constructive, that isn't judgmental, that it really has everybody's best interests at heart. And it is a fantastic group that I set up, and the people in there range from the very beginning preppers to people that have been doing this for years and years and years. So there's so much knowledge in there. And like I said, it's not judgmental. It's just a great place to kind of hang out, ask your questions. And if you got questions about anything, there's bound to be somebody in there that has answers. So I'll leave a link below this video. You can go check that out if you like. It's a really fantastic group. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the first comment that I got here. And this is from Rick. And I got quite a few comments on this, and I only grabbed a few of them. So, but this is from Rick. He said, start small and don't try to get the newest gadgets being sold. Figure out what you really want to get out of preparedness. Most importantly, don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's just what I was just talking about with the online group there. White Rabbit also replied. She said, agreed, Rick. It's too easy to buy the glitzy, gadgety stuff. I started with all that and threw nearly most of it out. Started with a clean slate, and after meeting the people in this group and figuring out what I really wanted and needed. And I think we all sort of go through that type of situation. I know I have, where it's, you know, you start thinking you need this one thing or a bunch of these one things. You got to have this, you got to have this, you got to have this bug out bag. It's got to have all these different things in it. And as you grow in preparedness, you start to figure out what these things are that are important to you. And they sort of start to take priority over those other things. So as we start to individualize our preparedness plans, all of these things change. Just know that as you begin, you're going to do a lot of things, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to grow as you go through the journey. So just kind of be okay with it. Take your time. Don't spend a whole lot of money at first. The more you can learn in the beginning, the more money you're going to save from all this stuff. So the next one I've got here, and this is from the other Brandon. Brandon said here, as far as advice, start off with food, water, household supplies, medications, the stuff you use every day, every week, every month, until you have a month's extra. Then allow yourself a quote unquote prepper type item, including training and knowledge. Then go for 2 months worth and a second type of prepper item and training. So this is pretty regimented as far as how he goes about things, which is a pretty good idea. It's not a case of being prepared for Teotihuacan or nothing at all. There's a whole level of preparedness that lends itself to being more akin to the Boy Scout model. And this is what I was talking about earlier when at the very beginning of this video, where most articles talking about how to prepare give you a list of prepping supplies, but there's a whole lot more to it than just that stuff. Bottom line, he says here, don't get caught up in the hype and know how to use the gadgets that you buy when you buy them. So yes, that's a really tough one as well, because not getting caught up in the hype, that's what, there's a certain amount of fear that gets us into preparedness in the first place. And there are a whole bunch of people out there that are trying to capitalize on that fear. So it's a little bit easier said than done when you're first getting into preparedness, and it wanes over time. Although I will say, the fact that we are interested in preparedness, the fact that we are worried about these things, there's always going to be that little piece of you that is going to, get a little bit hyped up when you hear about different things happening. So, but try to keep that in check. All right, so the next one I've got here is from Carla, and Carla says, be organized. It takes discipline and it can be frustrating, but you'll appreciate it later. I can attest to this 100%. I basically changed the way I do everything. She says here, you want to use the first in, first out method, the FIFO method for your food. Keep a spreadsheet of what food you have in stock so you know what you have. Deduct the items you use from your stored goods so you know what to buy on your next shopping trip. This also helps you keep on your budget. You won't be buying items you don't need. Start small if you're on a strict budget. Shop sales and use coupons. Buy a couple of extra cans every time you go to the store. A few of these cans will add up fast. Everything else will fall. This is really good advice right here. Everything else will fall into place given time. Don't fret about doing everything all at once. You'll drive yourself insane. Any steps made to go in the direction you dream of is a positive move. Keep the faith. And I think this is sort of on the same lines of what I was talking about earlier. When you first get into preparedness, you're a little bit tense, you're a little bit scared, you're a little bit worried about all of these things going on. And as you do this for a little bit longer, you start to realize that, okay, most likely I've got some time to do this. So you don't have to go into debt. You don't have to max out the credit card. Just do things step by step. And you'll look back in a year from now and you'll have everything figured out, or you'll be a lot better off than you ever thought you were. Now, the way Carla does things right there, it's different for everybody. Whatever works for you, she seems like she's a little bit more regimented about things. I'm maybe a step below that, whereas a year or 2 years ago, I was 3 or 4 steps below that. It's just find that process that works for you and stay organized, because the more you get, the more food you have stored, the more supplies you have. It gets a little bit harder to keep that stuff organized. And if it's like cleaning out an office, right? If you maintain that office on a daily basis, or a teenager's bedroom, if you maintain that on a daily, or if they maintain it on a daily basis or a weekly basis, it's a whole lot easier to clean. But if you don't, and 3 months later, you open the door to your office or that teenager's bedroom, and it's a complete mess, you basically have to pull everything out and start from scratch. And that's what we don't want to do. So very good advice from Carla right there. All right, so Denise's advice here. After prepping for the obvious things like food, water, and shelter, a couple of people have mentioned that. Yeah, get that basic stuff done first. And with that basic stuff, make sure it's the best your income allows. I like the idea that so many others have tried, that's turning off the electricity and seeing where you suffer the most. Nobody knows better where you are than you. Nobody knows where you need improvement. Of course, power loss is just one scenario to prep for, but it's the one I have encountered so many times, and I would think you would think that I would have it all figured out, but I don't, basically, is what she's saying here. And I think all of us feel exactly the same way about a million different things in preparedness. The second you think you've got something figured out, Murphy's Law or whatever is going to come and show you exactly how you don't have everything figured out. And with preparedness, we're preparing for disasters that we don't really know what's going to happen. We understand what's possible, but we don't really know how they're going to unfold. So everything is unpredictable. So we're never really going to have everything figured out. She had mentioned doing the lights out test, and we have done that once before. We tried to do it for a whole weekend, and it just didn't quite work out. I was ready to pull my hair out because the kids were just really annoying by the second day. So we didn't quite make it the full weekend, but just try that and see where your deficiencies are. See what sort of stress it's going to cause. And then you can build on that and do those types of drills for a whole bunch of different things. Without water, without electricity, all different things, without the ability to cook meals, things like that. All very good advice from Carla there, or from Denise there. Next, we've got Scott. And Scott, he says, I'm not sure where I would be on the scale of prepping, but one of my biggest challenges was shifting my critical thinking to a preparedness mindset. And from the little I know about Scott, I think he's in a good spot as far as preparedness is concerned. And that is, geographically and just the way he thinks about things. And that's what he's talking about here. Prepping will open your eyes to a lot of boxes and labels society places on people and groups. I've chosen to step away from the group think and focus on what is important to me and my family. When you have that light bulb moment followed shortly after with anxiety to get prepping, don't forget to live your present life too. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Scott's comment is like, yes, we've got to get prepared. We've got to do these things, but you can't do it and forget about your whole life, your whole family, because that's not going to go over well with them. It's too easy to get consumed by the doomsday mentality. It's important to have something that grounds you in reality and get your mind back on track. Like a hobby, a workout, or just listening to the Survivalist Prepper podcast can be good to realize that you're on track and you can do this. Whatever you do, find a balance that works for you. Now, not to toot my own horn, but the Survivalist Prepper podcast and these videos and the bug out location are all great because I do talk about things exactly like this. It is not you've got to have this. You've got to have 500 pounds of beans stored. And if you don't have this, if you don't have a mag group, you're not doing it right and you're going to fail. Lacey and I's whole thought process going into this, and it still remains the same today, is I don't care how much you're doing. I just care that you're doing. And I think everybody, especially in the group as well, that's what they think about as well. And just because what you want to do today may change in a year from now. So if your thought is that I'm going to prepare for 30 days, that's fine. And that's where you want to end it, then that's fine. You never know. Once you get prepared for 30 days, you might have seen some different things, started learning some different things and go, okay, I'm going to raise this to 3 months now because that 30 days just doesn't seem to cut it. Maybe good for FEMA, but it's not good for me. So, but very good suggestions from Scott there. Make sure you got to live your life. You only get one of them. So make sure you live your life at the same time, become better prepared. And there's only so many things we shouldn't be worried about the things that we can't control, and we should be working on the things that we can control. So very good advice from Scott. The last one I've got here is from Mama Bear Prepper. She said, and this is one paralysis by analysis. My toughest area to tackle has been what to do first. My brain says start with your food storage in case something happens. Then it says wait, start with your garden because if something happens while you're stocking your pantry, you'll have food you can rely on because the shelves will be empty. And then your brain says, oh yeah, well, what are you going to do with all that food that you grow if you don't know how to can? Maybe you should learn this first and then get your supplies. Next thought, just order some chickens and build a coop. At least they will produce food for you, and so on and so on. And you can see where this pattern goes right here. And this is, I think we all do it because there are so many different things in preparedness and so many different directions to go that it can be tough. And you've got to, instead of really overthinking, and this is easier said than done, like Mama Bear was talking about, I'm the same damn way. You need to pick a direction and just go there. I call it just-in-time learning, where if I've got my, the initial stuff set, I've got a little bit of food stored, I've got a little bit of water stored, I've got the bug out bag, I've got those things. I pick a direction and go that direction. And like I said, I call it just-in-time learning. This is what I need to learn about right now. I'm not going to worry about the chickens. I'm not going to worry about the canning. I'm going to worry about this right now. And once I have this figured out, then I will move over to the chickens. Or if I'm going the chicken route, I'm going to focus on chickens, and this is all I'm going to worry about. I'm not going to try to learn about canning and chickens at the same time. Just pick a direction and go with it. Like I said, we've got plenty of time for all of this stuff, or we could have plenty of time. Things could fall apart tomorrow. You just never know. But the odds are we've got plenty of time. And like I said earlier, not all preppers are hoping or waiting for the end of the world. It may never come. There's a chance that we're doing all this stuff and we're not, in our lifetimes anyway, we're not going to see that large scale disaster. But the odds are we are going to see a whole bunch of those smaller scale things, and we're going to see situations where prepping and preparedness comes in handy regardless what happens around us. And it's also a great way to teach the younger generation too. Teach them how, just by living with you and seeing how you do things, they're going to pick up on those things. And sometimes they may call you crazy behind your back or maybe to your face, depending on how your kids are. They are going to pick up on those things. So when they get older and they start to see things the way you see things, maybe they don't fall into the group think like Scott was talking about, and they start to build, they follow their own path, and they see how these things are important, and they do things just like we do things like our grandparents used to do. They will be looking back on us. And most people, unfortunately, don't think like this. Most people are the consumers. They are tied to the credit cards. They are tied to the grocery stores, the fast food joints, the day-to-day living that just to me, it seems like there's too many opportunities for things to go really bad living that lifestyle. So that's why I choose the preparedness lifestyle. At any rate, that's it for this video. If you guys have any advice for new preppers, if you are a new prepper looking for some advice, leave a comment below. Like I said, we've got the Bug Out location that has a bunch of membership. It's a membership site that has a bunch of preparedness courses. It's got a lot of resources for you to download that will help you in your preparedness journey. If you don't want to, if you're already past that point and you want to just help support the show and join the private online mag group, you can do that over at members.survivalistprepper.net. Go over there and check that out. You can get a 7-day free trial as well. Kind of kick the tires, get in there and see what it's all about. But fantastic group. I love it. And the Bug Out location, I'm constantly adding new things. We'll do live videos. I've got courses and resources and all sorts of different things, constantly building that up. So you can go over to thebugoutlocation.net and check that out. But at any rate, like I said, leave a comment below if you've got anything to add to this, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for a while and you've been through the growing pains. What would your advice be? But with that, take care and prepare, everyone. We'll talk to you all later.